conference this week is a continuation of the Pranayama practice. We've been going over the breath and going deeper into the breath, talking about the vayus. What are the vayus?
Currents.
Yes, the currents. So we've been referring to them as currents. And last week, the beautiful analogy of the bathtub. So we've moved from the currents and trying to use the breath to move through different arenas of the body and edges of the body. And we've talked about, in order to do that, we literally have to lock the prana in. I always grab my stomach when I say that because it has to happen in this central area. So the first lock we studied was Mula Bandha, which was pulling the lower abdominals in and keeping them drawn in and hollowing the belly during your practice, which has its physiological benefits, but also the energetic benefits of holding it in so we can move it around. And then this week we're going to study the ever elusive Mula Bandha, which is, where's the Mula Bandha located? Where's your mula? It's an elusive fish. The mula, the perineum. So the perineal muscles. If you're an Ashtanga, or at least if you study with me, you must have hear that word in your sleep, like perineal, perineum, perineal, perineum. Lift your pelvic floor. So, so this is right at the base. Pilates people usually refer to it as the bathroom muscles, which is helpful way to think of it, as we need to contract these muscles in order to hold the prana in. So there's two things we want to talk about. One is, obviously, this is also good physiologically for your physical body if your perineal muscles are strong. Why? Why is it good to have strong perineal muscles? Yeah, so basically if those muscles are strong, we're going to age well and healthy, and our elimination system will function well. In our culture, one of the issues, and this is just one of them, I know I talk about this a lot, but we sit in Western chairs a lot or in that position a lot, and because of it, we don't utilize those muscles and they become weak. We don't ever think about them unless you've just had a baby and you're doing Kegels, right? But otherwise, we're really sort of unaware of those muscles, and because of that, like any other muscle in my body, if I don't use it, it's weak. And then as we age, then we sort of have problems then with being able to hold that area. So we see other cultures that don't have as many issues with that because they sit differently and they're utilizing those muscles more than we are. So really important in our yoga practice to physiologically to have strong perineal muscles. But as well, if you go back to my analogy of the bathtub, which I really like, think of the bathtub as Mula Bandha being that plug at the very bottom of the tub. And if the plug is not sealed well, or if it's not sealed at all, it can't hold the water. Or maybe if it's not sealed well, you can think like you start pouring the water in, but as you're sitting in the tub, it's also leaking at the same time, and you have to start putting in more water. So think of both the bandhas as you pull them up and hold them, it's going to help you hold that basin of water. And then we have that analogy of pushing the hand right through the water so that your hot water, like when we breathe, it's not all stuck here. We get better pranic practitioners. We have that sense of pushing that hand around the water in the bathtub, and so the currents move that hot water throughout the bathtub. That's really what we're trying to do with the different asanas as we twist and do different things, and then as we add the breath to it to try to move that through. That's advanced practicing. That's an advanced pranic practice. So what I find in my students over the years is that Uddiyana Bandha is pretty easy. I mean, it can be. If you strengthen those muscles, we can see those muscles. Even when I'm teaching the other day, I was looking down the side of the room, and it was in a pose, Parsvottanasana, and I could see everyone's bellies were hanging out. And it was a little bit frustrated because I feel like I say all the time, Uddiyana Bandha, pull your belly up, pull your belly up, pull your belly up. I'm like, hey guys, come on. And then I saw everyone lift their bellies. And it was shocking and also made me happy. But I realized you can. The problem is we forget, right? And the more we remember and the more we practice it, the more we have cellular memory, and the muscles are obviously stronger. So then we get to Mula Bandha, what happens? How's Mula Bandha going for everybody? How's your mula? It's hard, Sarah says. Sarah's an advanced practitioner. It's hard. Maria was here the other day, one of our advanced teachers and practitioners. She was just shaking her head and she was like, it's hard. So one of the things is it's hard to do in the practice, and so it's hard to strengthen it within the practice. When, for most people, what we find is this: Mula Bandha contracts, and then you start to move, or you start to breathe your cycles of breath in asana, and those muscles start to relax again. So it's this constant reset. And then when you find unfortunately what happens, okay, you reset, and then they start to relax, but you forget about it. And so then you're just not in Mula Bandha at all. So I would say, for most of us in this room, Mula Bandha is really happening a very small percentage of the time. And one of the places we reset it is where? Where's probably where you're best in Mula Bandha. I hope, anyway. My hope is that you're good at Vinyasa. So Vinyasas are a good opportunity for contraction. So if I'm doing my inhale for Janu Sirsasana, I lift the pelvic floor, I contract the perineal muscles, and hopefully I go into it with Mula Bandha engaged. Hopefully. One of the things I suggest is that you move into your flexibility slowly, because when I see people just kind of flop into their flexibility, that muscle just releases as well. So if you go slowly, you can kind of keep it tightened all the way through. Sometimes you'll actually find you're going to get a little more extension and stuff when you're really strong in Mula Bandha. So I want to give you guys homework. We're going to do some of it today before class starts. So one thing I want to give everyone to do is Agni Sara. My recipe for Agni Sara. How many of you in this room do Agni Sara pretty much every day? What? My students. So Agni Sara is when you pull, we do the hands to the knees, you inhale, exhale, and hold and pull the belly in. This one, if I could give you guys one thing to do for the rest of your life, it would be Agni Sara. It needs to be on an empty stomach, so best to do it in the morning. Best to have a ritual so you don't start doing it and then forget, but to have something that... How many of you drink either coffee or tea in the morning when you wake up? All right, so that is what I would say. We're going to have to find something else for you. Is the best time to do it is when you're preparing your water for your coffee or your tea, is to do 3 sets of 5. That's my very famous and very successful recipe for Mula Bandha building and being healthy the rest of your life with strong perineal muscles. So, and then when you get to your practice, then you find that those muscles are available because you've been strengthening them every day, you know, and as well you'll have that cellular memory to kind of remember too. So that's your first bit of homework. Then your second bit of homework is sort of like Kegels, right? We're going to do, and just try that right now. So contracting those muscles on an inhale, and then exhale, release. Contract on an inhale, and exhale, release. Hopefully no one will know you're doing it. Inhale, because your face should be calm. Inhale, contract, and exhale, release. So now we're going to up the ante a little bit. We're going to take an inhale, we're going to contract, and then you're going to hold it, and then you're going to exhale. So inhale, contract, and exhale, release. Good. Inhale, contract, holds the contraction, and exhale, release. See, I can't tell you guys are doing it. Inhale, contract, look very calm and peaceful. Exhale, release. This is where the wheels fall off sometimes. So on the next one, we're going to do an inhale, contraction, exhale. And we're going to try to take 3 rounds of breath while we're contracting those muscles. Ready? Yep. Set. Here we go. Inhale. Contract the muscles. Exhale. Keep the contraction. Stay contracted. Inhale. Exhale. Stay contracted. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. Release the muscle. How'd you do? Ryan was smiling the whole time. It's a little harder, right? So you can imagine then when we're in asanas, how hard it is to keep that muscle contraction. So here's your homework for Mula Bandha. I suggest that you have a ritual around this as well. Actually, Kathy, who's not here right now, has one where she's at stoplights and she would do the contraction. Remember that? She'd say that. It's brilliant, right? What are you doing anyway? You're just sitting there at the stoplight, right? The other one I suggest is when you're at a really boring meeting, you sit there and you do some like perineal muscle contractions. And if you're like Ryan and you're just smiling like, no one will know, right? And you're just like, cool, I'm getting some action here while this boring meeting's happening. But anyway, so outside of your practice, I recommend both those. It will really serve you in your practice, and then holding your prana in and moving the prana around, but also just keeping our bodies healthy. Really, really important. So I'm going to end on this note, which was last week as well. Once you start doing this advanced work with the bandhas and the locks and moving the prana around, what you'll find is it just holds your mind and holds your consciousness. So we become really more present in the flow with the practice, what we're doing, but also in our lives too, just really able more and more to be in that conscious state and fully aware and present in the things that we're doing. So the quotes this week are from a guy named Benjamin Franklin. And believe it or not, this first quote from him is very yogic. I really love this. He said this: "While we may not be able to control all that happens to us, we can control what happens inside of us." And that is why we do yoga. This is our yoga practice. And the second one maybe is appropriate for this as well, talking about controlling our consciousness and our own minds. "The U.S. Constitution doesn't guarantee happiness, only the pursuit of it. You have to catch up with it yourself." So I'm hoping all of you are able to catch some happiness today. Namaste.